Welcome to Pathways to Success, where we aim to build and encourage diversity among health professionals. Through casual conversations with trainees and professionals, our goal is to support the social and emotional well-being of aspiring doctors of color. Here, you can get tips on writing personal statements, interviewing, networking, school selections, and much more. Join us as we inspire and nurture the next generation of Black doctors.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Austin Black Physicians Association Pathways to Success. We are so excited to be with you again to talk about how we support the social and emotional development of our aspiring physicians. And I have my trusted co-host. Oh, by the way, I'm Dr. Chinwe Eferibe. I'm a pediatric adolescent medicine physician in the Austin area. And I have my trusted co-host, and we have a guest today, everyone. Grace, introduce yourself again.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace. I am a third-year pharmacy student.
Awesome. And we have a special guest with us. Our first guest is Dr. Reginald Batiste. He is one of the founding members of the Austin Physician Association organization and is on the board as our current vice president. Dr. Baptiste, you have a very long history in your field, over 21 years as a cardiothoracic surgeon. You've worked at University of Austin as in collaboration as a private physician, and now you are in Texarkana. But we love you most for your work with pre-health and undergraduate students as the Dean of Health Professions. But is there anything else you think we need to know about you? Because I'm sure there's so much more, but what else would you like us to know about you this evening?
That's good. I have 4 daughters, and my youngest is about to go to college tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty earth-shattering. So it's the next chapter. It's the next chapter. So my youngest daughter is 18, so she's going to be a Razorback.
Nice.
I never would have guessed, but we're excited about that. So we're dropping her off and going to see how that works out.
All right. For those of who are not necessarily from the area, which university is the Razorback?
Oh, University of Arkansas. It's the flagship university for Arkansas. It's in Fayetteville.
Okay.
It's in Fayetteville. It's in the northwest corner of the state. So it's about 5 hours from where I am now. I'm in Texarkana, Texas, which everybody asks, where's Texarkana? And I don't understand why people ask that, because the name implies the geography. Texarkana. It's right on the border of Texas and Arkansas. So Texas and Arkansas share a very small border. And also there's, Louisiana and Oklahoma. So I moved here about 2 years ago from Austin. I've been in Austin for 15 years and did cardiothoracic private practice. And I did lung surgery, heart surgery, vascular surgery. And I got involved with University of Texas at Austin and also did medical school. But I got really not tired, but a little fatigued, and an opportunity opened up in Texarkana, and it's an opportunity I couldn't pass up for starting a lung cancer surgery program, a robotics program, and it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And I love Austin, but I was really intrigued about making a move and making a change.
Nice. Well, congratulations on your transition. Now, today, we're going to be talking about networking. And we've already started the show talking about the barriers that underrepresented minority students face when they're entering the pathway to medicine. And, there's so much research and there's so many factors that have been identified, but there are 3 main things that is kind of boiled down to, whether it's the first one, discrimination, second one, financial barriers, and then the third one, lack of support. Today's talk is going to be about the lack of support. and how we can improve that for our students. So it's all about networking, the ins and outs, the why is it so hard, you know, to do it? What's the benefit? What's the value of it? And how can we better support and set up our students for success? And so we are so excited to have you because we know that you have been, and Dr. Baptiste, you've been very instrumental in paving the way for a lot of young people with an interest in medicine. And so we can't wait for you to tell us, you know, how you did that and all the activities that you've been a part of. But let's start with this whole idea of networking. Like, what is it, right? What's the situations that we come across that require us to do that? You know, so Grace, when you think about networking, what comes to mind in terms of what it entails?
Honestly, when I think of networking, I think of connections. So making intentional connections across different platforms, different people, with the intention of, you know, building a relationship that will continue. So not just a one-time occurrence, but a continuation.
Definitely. I'm gonna pause because you both are frozen. Grace is frozen for me. Do you see her frozen for you, Reginald?
No, she's live.
Okay, then I guess it's just me. So we'll just cut. Okay, we'll cut all this other stuff out. All right, as long as y'all see it, let me know. It's probably just me.
We're good.
All right, cool. So yes, so Grace, thank you for sharing. Yes, it's about connecting, right? Dr. Batiste, what comes to mind for you when you think about networking, especially in the healthcare setting?
Yeah, well, Grace is right on spot. It is about connecting. It is about meeting people. It's about learning things you don't know and uncovering pathways that you're not aware of. It's about finding experiences that are not traditional. It's as if you walked into a classroom at UT where there's 200 upper division biochemistry students, and you have this sort of idea that all of them, you know, made A's in organic, they all made A's in general chemistry, they're whizzes in biology. But when you go and talk to each individual, they have different stories. Some of them may have struggled in general chemistry, but they did good in organic. Some may have been whizzes in general chemistry, but they struggled in organic, but they still achieved the seat in that classroom. So a lot of people have a misconception or a standard thought that every story, every success is pretty smooth. It's pretty. There's not a struggle. It's pretty straight from A to B. You know, not all journeys are from A to B. Lots of journeys are from. There's lots of intermediate points between A and B that may prolong it, but they make, you know, some of those are the most interesting stories, and they by and large do make very interesting professionals. Mm-hmm. So I think networking to me also is a way of redefining that journey that you think is the right journey, and it allows you to be a little bit more secure in that there are mistakes along the way, there are struggles along the way, but that's incurred by everybody. Let me give you one story, just from a personal standpoint. All networking isn't active. It isn't always known to you. You may not always be trying to network in a assertive fashion or even voluntarily. When I finished my training in '97, I took a job in Houston. And it was my first job, and it was in the Woodlands, Conroe area, which is northeast of Houston.
Yeah, beautiful I grew up in Houston.
Yeah, beautiful area. And I grew up in Houston, so it was a way to go back home. So I get this letter as a UT alum about Texas X's, and I joined the Texas X's. And they said, "Do you want to be on the scholarship committee for Texas X's?" Sure. I want to give back. I want to be involved. So it just really required, a visit to Austin 2 or 3 times a year. And we went over applications for scholarships, and there was about 30 of us in that committee, 30 or 40. There was an executive director, a really nice lady who kind of ran the scholarship committee through the years. So I did that for a couple of years, and I didn't even know what was going on. I just went to the meetings, enjoyed myself, met people. I had no intention of using that to my advantage. I just wanted to be involved. So I get a call from the dean of the College of Natural Science about a few years later when I got to Austin, 5 years later when I got to Austin. And she had gotten my name from this person on the scholarship committee, the executive director, who she knows everybody at UT. And the dean had called her up, hey, do you know of any people that, especially physicians, that may be interested in doing this, running a course at UT? By that time, I made it to Austin. And she said, hey, yeah, Baptiste. And the dean called me up, and I started a class at UT that lasted for 10 years, a seminar class in health professions. And then in the middle of it, she asked me to be associate dean for health professions. And because of that experience, when Dell got started, I was on the executive search committee for the dean. And the dean asked me to run a program part-time. And those opportunities really came about by one thing. I volunteered in the scholarship committee at UT Texas Exes. And I met a lot of people. And I didn't even think it was going to amount to anything to my advantage. I just wanted to be involved. But that's sort of a networking that I did that occurred not by me actively networking, but by me putting myself out there and meeting other people and being involved. Anyway.
No, that's a great story. Honestly, that sums up the whole point of what we're talking about today.
Okay, I can leave now. I'll see you later.
Possibly, but no, we got more for you. No, it's so true. Like, Grace, I don't know about you, but I've had so many of those kind of like 6 degrees of separation. You didn't really know that the person that you were talking to was connected to something else that was in your future. And so what Dr. Baptiste mentioned, where he says, I just put myself out there. I followed something that, led me to do, an activity that I enjoyed. And through that, I got to talk to people, and not necessarily talking with an agenda, because I think that's sometimes the mistake that some students have, is that they feel like they need to come with a certain set of questions, right? You have to have the right questions, you have to say the right things, but it's really just that humanity side of getting to know someone else. And you never know that person's background. You never know what connections they have that could lead you to something that you didn't even know that you were being prepared for. But I'll save my story for later. But Grace, any stories or any kind of examples?
If I recall, it was at Barbecue at the Docks that I met you, Dr. Chinwe. Yeah, that's a full circle, and I wouldn't be able to volunteer.
And we'll get back to Doctor's Barbecue with the Docks, because Dr. Baptiste is definitely involved with that. Go ahead. Even
then, it's like I met you. My intentions were just to meet you. I'm in pharmacy, right? And I go to all things medicine just to, 1, because I like it, 2, because that's where all my friends are. But I met you, I got to volunteer with you longitudinally till now, and you're in the world of pediatrics. I love pediatrics. None of this would have happened if I didn't step out and go to an event where there was maybe like 2 or 3 pre-pharmacy students. But, and it wasn't intentional, but here we are.
Here we are. So like 3.5 years later.
It's a long time, 3.5 years, man.
In doggy years, a lot of years in doggy years.
You're cracking me up, girl. You're cracking me up. You millennials. Oh my God.
All right, so let's get to this question now, because you all have mentioned some things. There's some vulnerability that comes with going to talk to people that you don't know, right? Grace, can you share with us some hesitation? Like, what are some barriers to networking? What are some students out there talking about and thinking about when it comes to doing that?
Honestly, the difference between like, so our networking was like unintentional, right? But sometimes when you're in a field or you aspire to be somewhere, you want to intentionally connect with somebody that, you know, knows a field that you want to go into or has experience, has expertise in a certain area. And that becomes scary because it's like, how do I tell you I want to do what you're doing exactly how you're doing it? Like, I want your job in the future, or I want your residency that you're doing. Can you just coach me? Like, it becomes intimidating. You don't want to say the wrong words. They could be your boss in the future. You want to make a good impression. So fear comes in, and it's like, you don't want to say the wrong words. You want to make sure you're dressed properly. You want to leave a good impression that they're like, yeah, that's that Grace girl. I want her, you know, for my program. So I honestly think that becomes a barrier, is trying to prepare so much that you're nervous, you're anxious, and you know, kind of run away from the opportunities to network because networking sounds scary or things like that. I feel like those are barriers that I see all the time. Or even on social media, it's like now everybody's moving virtual and on social media, and it's like, oh, I want to have a presence on social media, but I don't know what to say. What if I don't get likes? What if the person I want to see, you know, my content doesn't see my content, so forth and so on. But honestly, it goes back to still putting yourself out there. A lot of the mentors that I have, specifically in the field of pharmacy, it was one LinkedIn message. My name is Grace. I see that you're interested in pediatrics. I would love to learn more if you have the time to share your information and your knowledge with me. It sounds nice and awesome, but it took me a long time to even think about how can I approach them without seeming like I want to be all up in their business. So that, yeah.
And you're a social butterfly. So imagine the introverts that we have out there who, you know, are brilliant in the sciences, but, you know, take their time when it comes to social interactions. But Dr. Batiste, tell us about Barbecue with the Docs. That's a program that you pretty much ran while you were there at UT as Dean of Health Professions. Do you mind telling us more about that? How that came about? And you can unmute.
Well, gosh, it's been, I think, 10 to 12 years. So in Grace years, that's like forever. I can't even remember when that was, when it started. Probably about 12 years ago, I think BHPO approached me or I approached them. I can't remember how it happened, but I decided to throw a barbecue at my house.
And for those of you who don't, sorry to interrupt, for those of you who don't know, BHPO stands for Black Health Professions Organization. And it's just one of the groups for pre-health students at University of Texas in Austin.
Right. So we also invited the Hispanic students in health professions as well. And I invited just a bunch of docs, podiatrists, we've had dentists, we've had pharmacists, we've had a number of health professionals in Austin area to come to the barbecue. And it's really wanted to create an informal setting so that students can meet professionals that look like them, that are normal people by and large, that they can approach and talk about what do you do, where are you from, what is your life like, in a very casual setting, so that it takes a lot of the veneer of the fear of approaching people. Because, you know, by and large, we forget when we were pre-meds and college students how awkward it is and very, it's a challenge to approach someone and ask them to shadow or ask them for information. You're so afraid of denials and failure. But we wanted to create an environment and a situation that was fun, that it could set up some networking, it could set up the possibilities of shadowing, things like that. And it segued into, I guess, we had, I don't know, a number of, I think we had probably 10 or 11 barbecues through the years. And we've had as many as, one year we had 200 students there. And the last year we did it, I think that was the year before I left, I have a neighbor across the street. We used his place because he had 5 acres, and we had a bunch, 3 or 4 food trucks. And it's just a lot of fun. But I think, I remember as a medical student in Houston at Baylor College of Medicine, and as a resident in San Antonio, I ate a lot of faculty homes, and I never passed up a free meal. And when I was able to participate in events like that as a medical student in Houston in the late 80s, I promised myself that I would offer that if I had the opportunity. It was a lot of fun, and my wife enjoyed it. She was helpful, and I think a lot of the physicians got a lot out of it. We see ourselves in you guys, and we're just trying to do what people did for us.
Definitely passing it forward. I know the first time I attended, I was just taken aback. It was a lot of people, and I enjoyed it. It was just great to kind of, hear the stories and interests from the students. They really were interested in how long did that take? How did you do that? And why did you do that? And how did you end up there? And just like you mentioned earlier, we all have different paths. And I think it breaks down the expectation that there is one pathway. That's one thing that we're trying to.
I met at a event in medical school in Houston. We had a happy hour at this jazz club. The Black residents put together. They were the Charles Drew Society. And I went as a medical student, and I met a guy there who was the first and only Black heart surgeon to finish in Houston at that time at Baylor under Batiste. And I met him, and I was like in awe. I said, man, this guy is exactly who I want to be. And he was so cool, so down to earth. And that was 1987, 88. And that guy is still one of my best friends. In fact, I talked to him yesterday. I'm going to visit him. He lives north of Dallas. He's one of my closest friends. And I remember first time I saw him, he was sitting at table talking to other people. He had a leather jacket on. I thought he was just cool, man. I thought this guy, he was like everything I wanted to be. But he's one of my closest friends to this day.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right, so let's give our listeners some food for thought and things for them to consider. Okay, so we've talked about the value of networking, the benefits. We've talked about some barriers, right, and some things that kind of get in the way. And then we've talked about barbecue with the docs as one form of networking, where it's just an invested and committed provider providing space for the young people to meet, those already in the field. What are some other ways that young students or aspiring physicians can look out for networking opportunities? And either one of you guys can share.
Yeah, what I would do, say for instance, if you're interested in, surgery, and you can go online, go to the American College of Surgery websites, American Board of Thoracic Surgery, American Society of Thoracic Surgeons, or whatever. If you want to be OB-GYN, there's a number of websites you can look for opportunities to meet people. I would literally look at those sites and look for people that look like you, and they have their email. Send them an email and just say, listen, I'm so-and-so, I'm from Dallas, I go to college, I read your bio, I'm interested in maybe seeing if you can share your experiences, and if you have any advice for a young pre-med or young medical student. And you kind of have to put yourself out there. You can't stalk people, let's get that straight. You don't want to be obnoxious, you don't want to be too intrusive, but you're going to have to put yourself out there, and you're going to have to be able to accept failure, accept a number of failures, and don't recoil from those failures, but just rebound and recharge yourself, and just the opportunities, resources are out there. They're out there, and it's up to you. I don't think, certainly there's not as many of us as we would like. So there's certainly is limitations on the number of people that you think have to look like you, but also keep in mind, don't feel that you only have to network with people that look like you. That's a mistake.
True.
Some of my best mentors were white men. My first mentor in junior high, when I went to a career day in the University of Houston, was a white heart surgeon, and I know him to this day. And he is like the reason why I want to be a heart surgeon. And I tell him to this day, I wish you were a dermatologist, man. Why couldn't you have been a dermatologist? Yeah. So I mean, don't limit your pool of mentors. Don't do that. We're much past that. Okay.
Definitely. I second that. Grace, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I will say join the organizations, the student ones that connect you to the professional ones, the BHPOs, the Student National Medical Association or Pharmacy Association or Dental Association, because they will connect you to the parent organizations. And there you go. One way or another, you're linking with other people and hearing about their experiences. That's my biggest thing, is don't be afraid to, even if you don't become a member, attend some meetings. They may have I go to a couple of dinners once a month with pharmacists all over Austin. And before I used to be like, oh, I'm never gonna go to that. I'm gonna be the only student there. I'm not. There's 3 students that go every time, but they'll remember me, and I'm still learning about their experiences and their journey, what they've experienced in different states. But being honest, open, and just willing to listen and learn is also what I would say as well.
Very good points. I'll close out that section, co-signing on both of you in terms of not being afraid of failure. Don't be worried about the first person that you approach who says, oh my God, I'm sorry, I can't help you, or doesn't respond to your email or to your form of communication. I'll give you my quick story. I was interested in adolescent medicine, and I completed my first rotation within my residency program. I was at Chester Medical Center, but then at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia was where my future kind of like the person that I wanted to be, he worked there. And so I did an extra rotation in the adolescent medicine program, and I approached him and I said, Doc, I really want to do what you're doing, and I'm really passionate about the field. And his initial response was, sorry, we have a certain pedigree that we accept in this institution, but you can continue your pursuits. And I said, you know what, that's okay. I really feel like I have a calling in this, and I can, I plan to continue. And I still worked hard in that rotation. I was there when others weren't. And towards the end of the rotation, do you know that he pulled me aside and sat me down and said, all right, here's how we're going to get you into the Society for Adolescent Health and Medicine. Here's how we're going to make sure we get you into the right fellowship program, and not just any program, the top tier ones. And it's just, again, don't accept failure, because it shouldn't be a reason for you to kind of, hide your passion, hide your talent. If you're really passionate about something, somebody will see it. And it might be the person that may not have caught it the first time. And just like Dr. Batiste, for mine, I'll mention his name because I love him still, Dr. Ken Ginsburg. He's great. And he comes to my presentations at SAM, and he's still a great mentor even till today. So it's just one of those things where you never know where you're going to find, and he doesn't look like me at all. He's a wonderful Jewish young man, but he's just a wonderful heartwarming guy. So yeah, don't lose out on opportunities to connect. Conferences are also a great place. Find conferences that have student memberships. I'm part of the Society for Adolescent Health and Medicine, and we're working to connect some of our students with others who are in the field. So most organizations have some opportunity for you to come there. and make connections with those that you hope to aspire to become like. So hopefully we've provided some tips here. Any last words from either of you that you think students should keep in mind when it comes to networking? And mind you, this is just part one of networking. There's so many different levels and different nuances related to it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@austinbpa.com. And we will definitely have another part of the series. But any last words from either of you, from Grace, Dr. Baptiste?
Well, just keep pushing forward. Don't accept failure. You're going to have failure. That's normal. I've had a lot of failure, but failure is just something you just learn from, and be assertive. And if there's truly something you want, then don't stop pushing.
Awesome. Grace?
I wasn't going to say nothing, but I went to a conference 2 weekends ago, and the pharmacist said, fail forward. So use the energy, the inertia, the motivation, if there's anger or whatever that caused you to fail, so push that much harder in the correct direction, or in the right direction, or in the direction of another opportunity. So fail forward. Don't be afraid to do that.
Definitely. Thank you. And we definitely wish all of you listening who are considering your networking opportunities, who may be timid to explore, but go ahead and feel forward and know that there are a lot of people out there really looking out for your best interest, and it just takes some courage to step one foot in front of the other. Okay. Thanks for joining us on our Pathways to Success discussion for today. And please, if you have any suggestions, questions, feel free to email us or check out our website. But the email address is info@austinbpa.org. And we look forward to talking to you at our next session. Thank you, Dr. Baptiste. Thanks, Grace.
Always.
Everyone, have a wonderful evening.